before there was an empire that ruled 3 continents, before the great sultans of Ottoman glory. There was one man, a leader without a crown, a warrior with faith greater than fear. His name was Ertuğrul Ghazi, the father of the Ottoman Empire. Globe showing Europe-Africa introduction, the man who built a destiny. Ertuğrul Ghazi, born in the early 13th century, was not a king or a sultan. He was the son of Suleiman Shah, the leader of the Kayi tribe, one of the Oghuz Turk tribes who roamed the Central Asian steppes. At that time, the Muslim world was divided, the Seljuk Empire was crumbling, and the Mongol invasions were spreading terror across Asia. In that storm of chaos, Ertuğrul would rise not just as a warrior, but as a symbol of justice, faith, and leadership. His legacy would light the path for his son Osman I, who later founded the Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful dynasties in world history. Camping the tribe of Kayi, a nation without a home. The Kayi tribe was small but noble. Their symbol, the double-headed eagle, stood for freedom and strength. They lived as nomads, moving through the plains between Merv, Khorasan, and Anatolia, searching for peace and pasture. But peace was rare. The Mongols attacked villages, enslaved tribes, and forced the Turks westward. After the mysterious death of Suleiman Shah near the Euphrates River, the tribe split into 2. One group went east, the other, under the leadership of young Ertuğrul, went west toward Anatolia, seeking safety and opportunity. This decision changed history forever. Cross the first battle, faith against fear. As the Kayi tribe wandered through Anatolia, Ertuğrul and his small army encountered 2 groups at war. The Seljuks of Rum, Muslims, and the Byzantine forces, Christians defending their territory. Ertuğrul, seeing the injustice and chaos, decided to help the weaker side, the Seljuks. His bold choice turned the tide of battle. The Seljuk Sultan Ali-din Kikubad I, impressed by Ertuğrul's bravery and loyalty, granted him land in Söğüt, a frontier town between the Muslim Seljuk lands and the Byzantine Empire. It was a dangerous border, but for Ertuğrul, it was a new beginning, a place where faith and sword could build a future. Mosque building the foundations of faith and justice. In Söğüt, Ertuğrul didn't just fight wars, he built a society. He established markets, mosques, schools, and trained his people in the ways of honor and justice. He made alliances with other Turkic tribes and married Halim Hatun, a noblewoman known for her wisdom and courage. Together they had 3 sons, Gündüz, Savsay, and Osman. Ertuğrul believed that leadership was not about power, it was about serving your people. He treated even his enemies with fairness, winning the respect of both Muslims and Christians. In a world ruled by greed and betrayal, his leadership became a beacon of light. Fire the struggle against injustice. The Byzantine lords saw Ertuğrul's rise as a threat. They attacked his tribe, raided his markets, and tried to push the Turks out of the frontier. But Ertuğrul's strategy was not based on numbers, it was based on faith and intelligence. He trained his Alps warriors like Turgut Alp, Bamzi Bayrek, and Abdurrahman to fight with honor. He formed alliances with neighboring tribes and slowly pushed the Byzantine forces back. Every victory brought new respect and new challenges. The Mongols soon entered Anatolia, bringing destruction. But Ertuğrul, standing between 2 great powers, Byzantium and the Mongols, kept his tribe alive through diplomacy and courage. He never bowed to tyranny. Dizzy the spiritual guide, Ibn Arabi. Ertuğrul's greatest strength wasn't just his sword, it was his faith. Guided by the great Sufi mystic Ibn Arabi, Ertuğrul learned that destiny is written by courage and belief. Ibn Arabi reminded him that every warrior must first conquer his own heart before conquering lands. This spiritual bond gave Ertuğrul his calmness in crisis, his patience in trials, and his hope in despair. It was this spiritual foundation that later shaped the Ottoman philosophy, combining Islamic justice with worldly power. Söğüt, the seed of an empire. Under Ertuğrul's rule, Söğüt transformed into a thriving town. It became the base of Turkish expansion, a frontier fortress against Byzantines. He trained his son Osman in both warfare and leadership, teaching him that the sword must serve justice, not ambition. As Ertuğrul aged, his wisdom became his greatest weapon. He mediated tribal disputes, protected refugees, and upheld the unity of the Turkish tribes, at a time when unity seemed impossible. Balanced leadership (principles) of Ertuğrul Ghazi. 1. Justice above all. No matter who stood before him, friend or enemy, he judged with fairness. 2. Faith before fear. His belief in Allah guided every battle. 3. Unity among Muslims. He fought against internal division. 4. Compassion for people. He protected women, children, and the poor. 5. Vision for the future. He knew his actions would shape generations. These principles became the moral DNA of the Ottoman Empire. The legacy takes root. By the time Ertuğrul was an old man, the name Ertuğrul Bey was respected from Konya to Byzantium. The Kayi tribe had grown strong and prosperous. When he passed away around 1280, his son Osman Bey inherited not just land, but a vision. That vision would one day become the Ottoman Empire, which ruled for over 600 years. Ertuğrul Ghazi was buried in Söğüt, where his tomb still stands today, a place visited by millions who honor his faith and courage. Studio closing narration, end of part 1. He never became a king, yet he fathered kings. He never ruled an empire, yet his dream built one. Ertuğrul Ghazi, the warrior who lit the torch that would never die. Scroll YouTube description for part 1. Title: Ertuğrul Ghazi, the father of the Ottoman Empire, full documentary, part 1. Channel description. This documentary reveals the real story of Ertuğrul Ghazi, the brave warrior and leader of the Kayi tribe, whose faith and leadership laid the foundation of the Ottoman Empire. Discover his journey, his battles, his wisdom, and the destiny that shaped a new world order. A true story of courage, justice, and faith, the man who changed history without wearing a crown. Empires rise and fall, but legacies, when built on faith and justice, never fade. From the tents of Söğüt to the palaces of Istanbul, the name of one man echoes through the centuries. Ertuğrul Ghazi, the father of Osman and the spirit of the Ottoman Empire. Sunrise over mountains, a world at the edge of change. When Ertuğrul Ghazi left this world, the 13th century was closing its doors. Anatolia was a fractured land. The Seljuks of Rum were collapsing under Mongol pressure, and Byzantine rule was weakening from within. Tribes, warlords, and invaders fought endlessly for control. But in the small frontier town of Söğüt, something new was growing. A seed that Ertuğrul had planted, a vision for a just and united state, ruled not by greed but by faith and discipline. That seed was Osman, his son. Bearded male Osman Ghazi, the son who became a legend. Osman, born in the shadow of his father's leadership, had seen both war and wisdom from an early age. He had ridden beside Ertuğrul into battles and sat beside him in councils. He learned that power must always be controlled by conscience. After his father's death, Osman was chosen as the Bey of the Kayi tribe. He inherited little, a small town, a handful of warriors, and an enormous dream. But what he inherited most importantly was Ertuğrul's spirit, the belief that a small tribe with faith can defeat empires. Cross the first Ottoman battlefields. Under Osman's leadership, the Kayi tribe transformed into a state in the making. The people remembered Ertuğrul's vision to build a society of justice, unity, and belief. Osman carried this forward, launching small but strategic campaigns against nearby Byzantine castles, Bilecik, Yarhisar, and Karacahisar. Each victory wasn't just a military gain, it was a step toward destiny. The local Turks began joining Osman, inspired by the same ideal that once united them under his father. The Byzantines called him the Turkic Storm. But Osman often said, "The sword is not for blood but for peace and justice." These were words Ertuğrul had once spoken. Mosque, the legacy of faith and law. Ertuğrul had laid down the social foundation of the Ottoman state. Sharia, Islamic law, guided governance. Justice was above personal ambition. Tolerance was extended even to non-Muslims. Trade and knowledge were encouraged. Osman continued this vision. He appointed qadis, judges, opened markets, and built mosques and schools in conquered territories. People from other tribes, even non-Muslims, found safety under his rule. This justice-based system became the secret of the Ottoman Empire's strength for the next 600 years. Fire, the dream that foretold destiny. One of the most famous legends from Osman's life is the dream of Osman. It is said that Osman once dreamed of a moon rising from the chest of Sheikh Edebali, a holy man, and entering his own heart. Then a massive tree grew from him. Its branches spread across the world, giving shade to all nations. Rivers flowed beneath it, and mountains rose around it. When Osman woke and told this to Edebali, the sheikh smiled and said, "You, Osman, will build an empire. Your descendants will rule lands far and wide. You are the chosen one." This dream wasn't just a vision. It was the spiritual continuation of Ertuğrul's mission. It symbolized that the roots of the Ottoman Empire were planted by faith, not by conquest alone. Shield Ertuğrul's values, the heart of the Ottoman system. As Osman's conquests grew, Ertuğrul's teachings became the foundation of the Ottoman code of ethics. These principles lived on in every generation of Ottoman rulers. One, faith in Allah, the belief that success comes from the Almighty, not armies. 2, justice, adalet. Every Ottoman sultan took an oath to rule fairly. 3, service to the people. Leaders were seen as servants of their nation. 4, courage and discipline. The strength of the sword was guided by moral order. 5, respect for diversity. Christians, Jews, and Muslims coexisted under Ottoman rule. These were the values of Ertuğrul Ghazi, transformed into imperial law. The birth of an empire. Around 1299, Osman Ghazi declared independence from the Seljuks and established a new state, the Ottoman Beylik Principality. Its capital, Söğüt, the same town his father had once been gifted by the Seljuk Sultan. From this humble beginning, the Ottomans expanded rapidly. Osman conquered Yenişehir and built it as his new capital. His son Orhan later captured Bursa, turning it into a major city of culture and trade. Within a century, the Ottomans had reached Europe, crossing into Thrace and Balkans. Every fortress, every law, every symbol of that empire traced back to the spirit of one man, Ertuğrul Ghazi. Dove Ertuğrul's tomb, a symbol of unity. In Söğüt stands the tomb of Ertuğrul Ghazi, visited by millions of Turks and Muslims every year. It isn't just a monument, it's a symbol of faith, unity, and remembrance. Ottoman sultans, before heading to war, would often visit his tomb, pray, and take soil from his grave as a sign of blessing. Even the great conqueror Sultan Mehmed II, Fatih Sultan Mehmed, who conquered Constantinople, honored Ertuğrul as the man who began the journey. The spirit of Ertuğrul Ghazi became a guiding force for the empire. His courage in battle, his fairness in rule, his faith in destiny. Balance Ertuğrul's impact on Ottoman politics. The Ottoman state was not founded on sudden conquest. It was built through stability, order, and law. This was Ertuğrul's influence. He taught his tribe to value shura, consultation. This later evolved into the Ottoman divan system, Council of State. His emphasis on education led to centuries of scholarship and art. His belief in alliances and diplomacy created a multicultural empire that lasted for centuries. His warrior code, Alp ethos, became the moral compass of the Ottoman military, bravery guided by mercy. The Ottomans didn't see themselves as rulers. They saw themselves as protectors of civilization, an idea inherited from their ancestor. Globe showing Europe-Africa, a legacy that crossed sea into URES. When we look at the grand mosques of Istanbul, the schools of Bursa, the palaces of Topkapi, or the calligraphy that decorates Ottoman manuscripts, we see Ertuğrul Ghazi's vision woven into every brick and page. He dreamed of a world where justice ruled above swords and where people lived in dignity under divine guidance. That dream lasted over 6 centuries, from Osman to Mehmed, from Suleiman the Magnificent to Abdülhamid II. Every sultan carried his name, Ertuğrul, as a symbol of strength and faith. Compass the modern inspiration. In modern times, Ertuğrul Ghazi's story has reawakened in the hearts of millions. Television series, books, and documentaries have revived his name, but beyond the entertainment lies a truth. Ertuğrul was more than a warrior. He was a teacher of leadership, a symbol of Islamic pride, and a reminder that honor builds nations. In a world once again divided by greed and fear, his message is timeless. Stand for justice, believe in destiny. For faith is the greatest weapon of all. Glowing star, the last word, the man behind the empire. Ertuğrul Ghazi never built palaces or ruled kingdoms. He built something greater, a belief system. His son Osman turned that belief into a nation. His grandson Orhan turned that nation into an empire. And his descendants carried that flame for centuries. From the humble plains of Söğüt to the mighty walls of Constantinople, the name Ertuğrul became a symbol of strength born from faith. Closing narration, deep and emotional. Empires are written by swords, but legacies are written by hearts. Ertuğrul Ghazi's life was not just history, it was destiny. His faith became the foundation of an empire that changed the world. From the steppes of Central Asia to the golden domes of Istanbul, his story lives forever.